Yeah, Hormozi came in and asked me if we're getting married when he saw this venue. And I didn't understand what he meant. So welcome everyone, welcome to the Skool Games. And yeah, first of all, congratulations to everyone for winning. The theme really for today, I think, is more with less. Like, who doesn't want to achieve more while doing less, right? Simplicity. And that's what Skool is for. Like, it really wants to try to help you do more with less. And so we're not even going to be talking for very long because we think that you'll get a lot more out of talking with each other throughout the day and just mixing, right? There's a lot of smart people in the room, and also a lot of cool things happen when you talk to someone from a different industry, right? So how it's going to go is, to start with, me and Hormozi are going to have a conversation about the state of things. And the things is like, what are some kind of topics that people are talking about in the industry? And I got Evelyn to help me with this. She was like, this is what everyone's talking about and thinking about. And
They're really good. They're really good. Topics are really good.
Yeah, and then after we do that, we're going to get the GOAT up here. Where is he? Let's give him a round of applause. Did you guys see that post he did the other day in Schoolers? It's a GOAT post. So we're going to get him up here for the second part, and we're going to ask, me and Hormozi are going to ask him all kinds of questions about his school, like how's he getting traffic, how is he reducing churn, what's he doing. So I think that'll be super relevant for you guys too. Are you ready for our conversation, Hormozi?
I'm excited.
You're looking good today.
Thank you. I think your hair looks better.
Thank you.
It does, right? I think it looks good.
Yeah, Evelyn was telling me that the industry is changing.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean? And she said, a lot of people's webinars aren't converting as much as they used to. A lot of launches aren't going as good as they used to. And the kind of old way of direct response is not working so well. And I said, why do you think that is? And she said she thinks there's like a trust crisis. Mm-hmm. But I'm curious if you've noticed this.
I love all 5 of the topics that you have, and I thought this was a great one. I agree. So I felt this 5 years ago, and so that's why I started making content. And so it started feeling like the writing on the wall, at least for me, and maybe some people are more sensitive to these things than others, but like it just, something felt off, that people could just like hop on and then just promise all sorts of things, and then people would hand their life savings over to them, and that happens to enough people, and then bad reputations start happening in general. And first it starts, you have bad actors, but then with enough bad actors, the industry gets a bad reputation. And I think that fundamentally the education space in general, especially for charging, itself has a bad brand. And so you start at -10 when you come in, because everyone just assumes that you suck and that you have no credibility, and they are probably right 9 out of 10 times. And so it makes sense that you would have that reputation when you come in, because that's probably reality. And so you have to just like completely anchor on the other side, which is like, how do I be absolutely honest? How do I be absolutely upfront? How do I absolutely substantiate whatever I have? And I think that's the reason that, I mean, I've at least noticed this. A lot of people were late to it, but like creating content, making, building a brand, providing value ahead of time, that's like the direct response stuff works just under the context of I've already provided value to you. Because direct response, if you think about like what the term is, like direct response, you're asking them to do something. So it's just saying like, hey, soliciting people to do stuff doesn't work anymore. It's like, no, I mean, soliciting people to do stuff when you've never done anything for them doesn't work as well anymore. But if you do stuff for them first and then you directly solicit a response, it for sure works. It's just they're skipping the first step, the most important step. And so I think that's why, and I would say that between long form and short form, I see short form overall as just a way to get people into a longer form, dynamic. And we think about how do we have as many reinforcement cycles with a prospect in the shortest period of time. I think like the presidential election recently with the Rogan Trump thing, in 3.5 hours, like if you get on Rogan, you can get the entire world to listen to you for 3 hours, and they have a pretty decent idea of who you are. And he sold himself functionally, right, on the podcast. And so I don't know how many clips you have to consume to replace that 1 3-hour podcast. And so if you're trying to, like, if you look at the people who have like massive, if you have 1 million people on TikTok versus 1 million subs on YouTube, the difference isn't even 10x. It's probably like 50x in terms of the difference in conversion. It's just because you've done more for those people. And so big picture, I do agree that direct response as the primary mechanism of the business is losing its effectiveness. But this has always been the trend. Like if you look at like the 1950s ads, it was just like lose weight fast. And people were like, whoa. And it worked. And then like, 10 years after that, they're like, you can't just say lose weight fast anymore. It's just the people don't trust us anymore. And so it's just like, it just slowly erodes until eventually it's just like you have to be demonstrating proof at all times because transparency only increases with a network. And social media has done a lot to expose things. So my 2 cents.
Yeah, I remember I was talking to Evelyn and Kirby about it, and I said, well, who is winning? And they were like, well, this person and this person and this person. And I was like, yeah, but look, they've got a niche, and they're actually good. So I was like, it looks like if you've got a niche, like a thing, and you're actually talented, they're winning, right? So I think, in a way, the market's actually corrected.
Yeah.
Before you could win by just standing in front of a Lambo, even if it wasn't yours.
Yeah.
And like that, those days I think are gone. And now it's actually like talent and how good you are. And yeah, it's similar to you. I saw kind of the writing on the wall a long time ago, which is why I started Skool.
You pivoted the same time I started making content.
Because I wanted to make a platform that would correct the market in a way and allow talented, passionate people to shine and kind of nudge people to care about their customers by putting them in a community with them. So
I had the same instinct because I was like, well, I want to just put all the stuff that people are charging for, I'll just make it better and I'll make it free. And that was the whole premise. No, so we've had a lot of conversations from earlier on before we even decided to work together on Skool, was that we saw a lot of the same problems and then just tried to attack them from different directions, which is why this has worked well.
Yeah, I think we had a call. Yeah. Well, no, we did have a call, and it was just before you started doing your books and everything, and just as I was starting Skool. And I don't even think I told you about Skool, because I didn't want you to try to compete with me. This is a true story.
I found the calendar invite. I think I showed it. I showed it. It was like 2018. Yeah. It was like 2 weeks after you had started or something.
It's kind of interesting. We went in totally different directions, but then I reached a point and I was like, oh shit, I haven't made any content. No one knows who I am. Like, how am I going to get this to people? Yeah.
Because we had said, like, if we had planned this from day one, we couldn't have planned it better than we did, because basically, like, great product will always find good distribution, and good distribution will always find great product. And so if we had like had a master plan at the very beginning and said, okay, I will spend 4 years just building distribution, building trust, building an audience of people who would be perfect for this, and then Sam was like, okay, I'll just spend 4 years making the perfect product for those people, we could have just worked independently and we would have arrived at the same position. So it was very fortuitous. But I agree. One little tidbit on the webinar direct response stuff. You guys might have heard this recently, but like social media, switching from social media to interest media. I think it's really important. Like I can't really overemphasize how important it is. Right now, there's many of you who here makes content as your primary way of getting customers. Okay, so like half of you, or a little more than half of you. There's this obsession with getting views, and fundamentally now, because of interest media, if you're making stuff that's not about the thing that you sell, then you are getting views from people who are not going to buy your stuff. So you just there just might not be that many welders. And if you're like, I want to help welders or have a community for welders, like, don't expect million view videos. There's not a million welders. There's not. And so you just got to be okay with, because the thing is the platform is so good now at knowing what's inside of the content that it'll serve it for you. Like, think about each piece of content as having a tiny ad budget, and Facebook or Meta or YouTube just already knowing who it's going to. And so they do the targeting for you based on the stuff inside of it. And so it actually makes it easier now to just say like, oh, I want to target fishermen. It's like, well, then make shit for fishermen and fishermen will see it. Instead of like, oh, I need it to get reach so that fishermen can see it. It's like, no, like, there's only however many fishermen, just make that and then they will distribute it for you. That it wasn't like this, like even maybe 2 years ago. Like you wanted it, like, it wasn't as accurate as it is now. Now I think it's scary accurate, and I just don't even think you have to worry about it. So I just want to encourage those of you who are like, and we've seen this at Skool, some people who have tiny followings, but it's because they actually focus on providing value to that audience, crush. And then some people have like meme audiences and they can't get people to show up to a webinar and they're surprised. So we provide no value. Or you try to provide value to 100 different people, which is really hard, versus providing value to one specific type of person.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, that change in the algorithm, because they're saying now like content is the targeting.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And so I think that kind of explains too why the people that have a clear thing are succeeding. Because if you teach pickleball, for example, and you make videos of you playing pickleball, so like algorithm sees tennis court, it hears you say pickleball, and it just gives that content to people that do that. It's kind of amazing it took this long to get here, honestly. Like, this makes a lot of sense. But yeah, having a very clear thing and actually doing it and being good at it, it's like the perfect recipe right now, I think.
Yeah, like Gracie shouldn't start making fitness content. Be like, oh, well, if I make fitness content, that'll get guys, and guys want to date. It's like, just talk about dating shit, and you'll get the guys who want to know about dating shit.
Because I guess there's been a big trend for like personal brand, right? And personal brand is like for you and not associated to the business. So for example, if you change business niche or the angle you sell, how do you go about that, building a personal brand or making specific niche content? Because I guess that was the reason why people stopped doing specific niche content to build a personal brand. So how do you do both in one?
I think it's a really good question. I think it depends what your objective is. You know, fundamentally, it's like, what's your goal? If you're just like, I want to make content to make money, then you want to be as targeted as you can. If you're thinking, oh, I am the asset, then I think your strategy shifts a little bit so that your brand is a representation. Okay, I'll give you a slightly longer answer, but I think it'll be more accurate. So I think about the personal brand as mosaic. So you know what mosaic is? German. I just want to make sure the translation. So it's a lot of little pictures, but when you step back, you can see kind of an image from it. And so I see content as each one of those little tiles. Like every single little video you put out is a little tile. But in total, when someone steps it back, it should look like you. And so that means that if we look at like a pie chart of who you are, if somebody looked at me, I probably spend 5% of my time, maybe 10, probably 5% of my time on fitness stuff, like actually at the gym. I probably spend another 5% of my time doing weird, obsessive, like clothing hack, whatever bullshit. I probably spend five-ish, maybe 10% of my time thinking about how the meaning of life. And then the rest of my time I pretty much spend on business or with Layla. And so if you look at my content, it should probably reflect those percentages of like, if you were to put your percentage buckets of who you are, then that's what it is. Now, it also means that might change because you might change. And so it makes sense that a brand can shift over time, just not overnight. And so I think the things that shift overnight is when you try to be a certain way rather than just trying to, I tell my team, I was like, I want it to be glass. So that if someone walks in with a flashlight through the glass and looks in, it's the same on both sides. It's me. And so they should never be surprised. Like one of the big things that I mess up, is that when people meet me in person, the number one thing that I get back is like, you're funnier in person than I get. Now up to this point, probably like, weird. But like it's a really common thing that I get. And part of that is because I sometimes don't enjoy filming. And so when I film, sometimes I'm in a little bit more angry of a mood. And so that comes out in my content. And so I'm trying to like figure out like how do I get people out of the room so that when I film I can just hang out with me, which sounds weird. But then because I actually think that your environment that you're doing the filming in has a huge effect on actually how you present. So just as a side note, I know we're going to get into creator burnout, so that probably segued a little bit into that, but that's just something that's been top of mind for me.
That makes a lot of sense, because when we designed the Skool news thing, which is content, which I thought I'd never make ever again, I was like, the only time I can make content is if I just look at a computer. Because I was like, I do that all day, every day. I feel so comfortable just right here at my computer, right? And there's got to be someone else, and we've got to be talking about Skool. I was like, because that's what I do every day. And so then I forget the camera's there, and there's something to that for sure. I guess this is kind of on this topic, but creator burnout. So, and I asked Evelyn, like, what do you mean? And she said, creators have to do so much stuff, right? Like you hear these YouTubers that are quitting or whatever. There's so many social platforms, so many formats, so much to do.
Yeah.
Do you hear about it much?
Yeah. I think that content creation is, I'll be really transparent with you. I've yet to meet somebody who has succeeded at content who really loves making content. I think they start doing it when they like it. They make, it's kind of a passion thing. I'll just make some videos, wholesome, to use Sam's words. And then you start being like, oh, this is kind of working. And so then you get better at it, you study it, you increase your volume, you start, getting on a cadence, you get a schedule, you start hiring editors, you start hiring, film, you start doing all this stuff. And all of a sudden, it kind of starts sucking. But then you're like, well, I have this whole team and I kind of need to keep doing this or I can't pay bills. And so then you're like, well, now I quit doing the thing that I hated to start doing what I loved. And then I got good at doing what I loved and now I do what I hate. And so now it sucks again. And so I'm just being real. I see it a lot.
I hope there's a bright side.
Yeah. Sam started this and he was like, hey, we don't have to make any conclusions on stage. We don't have to make any points. We can just talk and then just leave it. Maybe I'll just leave you there.
Let's move on.
So I'll tell you this. So I think that you have to give yourself, at least my 2 cents, is that I try to give myself absolute permission to change whatever the fuck I want, whenever the fuck I want to change it. And so if that means that hey, we've had this format and it's crushing, and I'm like, I don't want to do it anymore. But dude, it's crushing. I'm like, don't give a fuck. Not doing it anymore. And that's that. And so I noticed for me, and so we're post-launch, I'm gonna be making some changes, because for me, I have kind of an infrastructure, so I have to change titles, roles, all that kind of stuff I have to do it a little bit more blocky. But post-launch, the one word for Hormozi Media is gonna be interactivity. So I was like, I don't wanna be alone on a camera. I hate it, I don't enjoy it. I can do it, and I will do it because I have pretty high pain tolerance, but I do not enjoy it. And the reason the Brutally Honest Truth series, if you guys have seen any of those on YouTube, I think they're called Brutally Honest Truth because I'm just pissed I'm doing it and so I just sound brutal because I'm like, yes, if work harder. I don't know what to say. But anyways, interactivity. And so I think if you can demonstrate and do the things that you enjoy doing on camera, I think that's the best. Now, to be fair, it's hard. Because if I meet with a business owner and talk about their business for 30 minutes, I could do that for 12 straight hours. But audiences might not like it. But the right audiences will. And so if you think about who would I want to hang out with, to use the theme of today, well then you making content, the way that you want to make content will attract only people who like that type of content. And then you will attract a very different audience, and it might be the audience that you want.
I noticed Kirby was nodding very hard because I was talking to him yesterday about this. I was like, the best Hormozi videos are when he's talking to someone.
I agree, because I don't hate it.
And, and then everyone in the room was like, yeah. And I was like, I hope Hormozi does that.
Oh, no, 100%. 100%. Have you guys seen the Cash Cows episodes where I take the business owner and we meet in person? Yeah, I love I could make 100,000 of those videos, not burn out. The problem is that it actually, it's those videos are 20 times the work of me just Because we have to coordinate between multiple people. They have to fly in. As silly as it sounds, like they have to get their data, which a lot of them they don't have. So we have to help them get their data. Then we put it in a little slide deck for them, which they don't know how to make very well. And then we actually have them practice it so they don't sound terrible on camera. And they're still nervous as fuck when they're there. So there's all this stuff that's going on. And there's like a casting process to make sure that people just don't freeze in general or just like not interesting. Which we had to learn that the hard way. I did 4 in a row Cash Cats episodes that bombed because English wasn't their first language. And then I was like, and we were looking at all these details. I was like, dude, no one can understand them. That's it. That's all it was. When we had all the people who could speak English, they all crushed. And they're like, oh, yeah, we should do that. So sometimes it's just the big obvious stuff. But no, I'm glad you guys like it because y'all are the people, you know what I mean, that I want.
Yeah, there's definitely something to that. Like, I used to make talking head videos and then I quit. It felt bloody good when I quit. And then I was like, I'm going to start like a podcast like Joe Rogan. I did 4 episodes and halfway through the 4th one, I just was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm not even joking. And then I quit that.
You just walk out of the room. The guy's still there like, are we done?
Oh, I just said we need to stop. Well, I was giving signals that I wasn't enjoying it and they weren't being received. So I just had to say something, yeah. And then I thought, well, I hate content, I'm never going to make content. But then it becomes a problem. I'm like, oh, our audience wants to hear from us.
Yeah.
Content, fuck. So I approached it like thinking, what do I like doing? And tried to put the content around that, which sounds like what you're doing. 100%. That's a really good answer.
Just reverse engineer you. Like whatever you enjoy doing the most, reverse engineer that into capturing it. And then again, the big fear is this won't get reach. It will get reach to the people who like that. And you want the people who like that to be the ones who see it because they're the ones who like you and will buy your stuff. But it just might be a smaller number than you slapping an old lady in public. I mean, it probably would get fewer views. But at the same time, like, do you want the people who want to watch you slapping an old lady in public to be your customers? Probably not. Maybe.
Yeah, and also when we were setting up the set for like the Skool News with Johnny, he's around here, our videographer, it was a challenge to figure out where to put the cameras because where the computer is generally where the camera is. Because I was like, I just want to look at that computer. Because that's where I'm comfortable. Yeah. Okay, so is this helpful for you guys so far? You like it?
Yeah.
So, how is AI changing things? Apparently everyone's freaked out. Everyone's like, oh my God, AI is going to take my job and my life. I don't know if it's that bad, but it's a topic.
Well, you want to take it first, or?
Well, you should go first, I think.
So I think I'll answer just within the context of Skool, and then I'll zoom out. But I think so. I'm super bullish on Skool. I try to take out my own bias. But I am, in general, very much so, because I think that in a world where everything's fake, the thing that people will crave is the things that's real. And I think connection and community are things that are harder for AI to do than just like more generic things. I think community will be one of the last of human bastions to be taken down. And so I feel relatively bullish on that and from a business model perspective. So that's kind of like thing one. From a larger context, I see pretty much only like 2 phases of AI, at least as in the world of Alex, which is humans plus tools against humans plus tools, and that's how it's always been. And when the tools get better, there's a quote. The Wire is one of my favorite TV shows of all time, and one of the gangsters comes out after murdering someone and has 20 years in prison and comes out, and so it's like the whole game's changed, and so he's there with another hitman getting right back into the game, and he was like, man, he's like, the game's changed. He was like, nah, man. He's like, the game the same. He's like, more fierce. That was my attempt at whatever his accent was. But But he's like, it's just more fierce. And so that's kind of how I see it. It's like the game of business is not going to change. It's just going to be more fierce. And so it's just human plus tools. When it transitions to tools against humans, then we're all fucked. It doesn't matter. So basically, what does it change in my behavior? Nothing much, which is just we're going to use the best tools we have available. We're going to try and get as much leverage on our time as we can. We're going to try and be as efficient as as possible with headcount and costs, and try and generate as much revenue as we can and provide good value. That hasn't changed. It's just the only thing is that the tools are moving really fast, and that rate is going to increase, not decrease.
Yeah, I think of it the same way as you. It's a tool,
Yeah.
and it doesn't fully replace it. And I don't think that people will let it fully replace things anyway. And for example, like, did you see that YouTube has demonetized AI content, right? They also make AI, by the way, so it's not like, that's an interesting choice to make, right?
Yeah.
Because they want to lead AI, but at the same time, they don't want YouTube to go to shit. Because if you replace the creators with machines, you're going to lose your creators. And if you lose your creators, you lose your audience. The whole thing will self-destruct. So I think platforms are actually going to do that. Like, they'll use AI to detect AI.
Yeah.
And probably have a preference for human. And I've also noticed humans like human stuff, right? Like, I don't know about you, but I'm not that into watching like a lot of AI stuff or reading a book written by ChatGPT, for example. Like, that sounds pretty awful. So I don't think it's going to replace stuff. I think it's more going to just help people be more efficient. Because we use it for moderating spam on Skool, for example, and we're able to have like one person for like 15 million users. We would not have that leverage without AI. We have one financial controller in our finance department for all of Skool. Because again, we use these tools for fraud detection and everything. And so I think...
That's insane as a side note. Like, if you think about the sheer volume of payments that go through and attempts for fraud, just as like a side note, the fact that there's only one person in finance is borderline absurd.
Yeah.
Borderline.
And so like, and then another thing we use it for is like categorization of communities. You know how in Discovery, it puts you in a category? That's AI too. So it scans the group, it looks at the about page, it's like what category it's in. And so, for us, that's a lot of jobs, right? So it allows us to be more lean and efficient, and that's good. I love that. And then, the odd thumbnail, like we use AI to put you in a thumbnail, for example. Did you see that one?
No.
I'll show you afterwards. But, it's good for little things like that here and there. It can also write great rap lyrics about like jokes. So if you're like, write a rap about Kirby doing this thing that's stupid, it's really good at that. Like it's really good at dumb stuff. Like just funny dumb stuff.
I think it'll get continually better at everything. And I think, yeah, I mean, on a long enough time horizon, it's my perspective that it will beat all humans at everything. And that's fundamentally because I think it learns the same way we do, which is through reinforcement. But it never forgets and doesn't have to transfer when people die. And it can copy itself, 200,000 times and have all 200,000 learning, asynchronously, but then centralizing the learnings. That being said, again, I always try to think like, what will this change about what I do, right? Because I mean, you can always find yourself in a dark hole thinking like everything is worthless and meaningless. But you could think the same way if you think about like how big the universe is. You just start zooming out, you're like, oh my God, nothing matters. And so like I'd recommend not thinking about it that way. And so again, I just go like, what will it change about what I do? Well, I'm going to use it as a tool to the best of my ability to accomplish the goals that I have until I can't. And I think that's really all it comes down to is like, what are you going to change rather than just like getting fear mongering and being worried about it?
Yeah. So what's working right now? What have you seen working? And I guess you can also touch on what's working for you.
Yeah. So Sam and I were talking earlier this week about this, but So building a brand is a good idea. In a world where there's less trust, creating content that provides value to a specific audience over an extended period of time is a good idea. I do think direct response totally crushes when you're advertising people who already have gotten value from you. And so I think about advertising in a lot of ways as retargeting more than anything, because it's very, like, you can get, from content, you can get 1, 2, 3 touch points with somebody, and then that you kind of like fall out of favor. I'm sure you've like been into somebody for a minute and then you just like don't watch their stuff and then they stop appearing. So it's like you've probably done that for 10 times or 100 times more people than who are actively consuming your stuff today. And so advertising, paying the platforms, just allows you to reach every person who's ever been interested in your stuff, but it's still kind of within that warmer bucket. And so, like, on taking to the hypothetical extreme, you've got The Rock, or you've got Mr. Beast, or you've got Arnold Schwarzenegger, depending on your generation, and they have made the world their warm audience. So everything that they do is retargeting. And so I kind of see it that way. Now, for us, or for most people here, like, you don't need to make the world your warm audience. You just need to make your world your warm audience. So if it's fishermen, if it's moms who like knitting, if it's people who like jarring, whatever. It's like you just need to have those people find you as a warm audience, which if you're making interest-based media or content, then you totally will be able to do that. And you also get, I think, real talk, I think you get all the benefits with way fewer the costs. Because like being Mr. Beast sucks. And I think Jimmy will say this. Like, he can't go anywhere, you can't take his girlfriend or his wife or fiance out to a nice meal because he gets stopped. People make threats on his life every day. Like, not the most fun. But if you are a champion of, the fisherman community, when you go to the event, you're a superstar, and then you just like get in your car and you drive 30 minutes away and no one knows who you are. And I think that's kind of like you get the best of both. But in terms of what's working right now, I guess I'll segment this really quickly, but the content side already hit. From a paid side, ads that approximate content are the best performing ads that we have right now, like actively going for the launch. And even when we like promote our workshops that we have at acquisition.com on a very small level, we don't spend a lot of money on it. But still the number one performing ads are just my content. And then just with a CTA at the end. So they're just the top performing content. It's like, hey, if you like that, you're gonna love this, go check it out. That's all it is. Like, very, very simple. And that has consistently outperformed. And the nice thing is that if you think about how much content you probably make more content than you do ads. And so you can just pick from this gigantic volume to find the top 0.1% that's already a winner that they already distribute for free. And so they're like, oh, well, we already were gonna show this to 100,000 people for free. If you wanna pay us, we'll do it even better and even more. So I would say that is working really well. Beyond that, just like being consistent works really well. Underrated.
Yes, and time.
Yeah, 100%.
What's up?
So if we're targeting, let's say, the 0.1%, as you said, right, for the ads, for the August 16th book launch, you made over 400 pieces of ads.
I have over 1,000.
Over 1,000. So these thousands are only for that 1%, just segregated into different categories?
So great question. So we'll do a mix of both, right? So I have one team that's doing basically ripping all content. I also have a bunch of, like, you've seen some of the big stunts with the like the big books. But if you think about what those are, though, a lot of those are approximations of winning organic content. So I'm manufacturing ads from winning organic content concepts, and then I'm taking my existing organic winners and also running those. But right now, my actual winners are my existing organic that are winning. So I looked at my beta team and I was like, so that was a lot of work.
So you're not creating content specifically for ads? But
No, I am creating content specifically for ads in that manufactured format that are approximations of, like, so you guys might have seen the CEO thing with whatever. So my team made one of those yesterday. We did the rowing meme thing. They made one of those. We did the book running one, which is a super viral meme. So we've done a few of those, but by and large, we approximate content. Everything's about the hook, though. If you're like thinking about, really ads or content. I think one of the most, I'll add this too, one of the most under-leveraged thing right now is trial reels on Instagram. Like, strongly recommend using it for two reasons. Number one is it goes to 100% new people. So like, you literally only get new followers. Like, what could be better, right? On top of that, you can take every clip you have and just swipe out the first 2-3 seconds, and the difference that you get in viewership is absurd. So you'll have like 12,000, videos, and then like a 200,000 video. Same core video. And so it's very high leverage to make a piece of content and then just swap the hooks out. It's way less work per view. And you get to benefit from all the views of all the variations because you get to try them all.
Trial reels? That's
Yeah.
what they're called?
Yeah.
How is it different from a normal reel?
It doesn't go to your audience. So it's like
so
it's
it's
like
like
a
their
ghost post.
TikTok,
It's like a dark
essentially.
post. It's like a dark post, like back in the day in Facebook.
Ah.
Like no one sees it. Like your own followers don't see it.
I think that's how TikTok works, is it?
I don't know. Gracie.
How long are you running them for before actually putting them out to your audience?
We'll just put out the winners. And we'll let them cook, let them marinate. And some of them just murder, and we just let them sit.
What engagement rate makes you think that ad is a winner, that reel or something?
I know that the content is going to target business owners or business interested people. So I control for the targeting piece by what it's about. And then it's, if I have that constraint, then it's about the views.
When you're scaling your winning ads, are you increasing just the ad budget like on those winners, or do you kind of scale horizontally and show it to different audiences and then kind of split?
I have no idea.
You should ask Evelyn,
Yeah.
when we're
Yeah.
hanging out today.
Like I have not run an ad in probably like 8 years. I make ads and say it should say this stuff, but like
The most important thing is the actual creative, by the way. Like, no media. The media buyer used to be like the wizard.
yeah, it was a huge thing.
And now it's all creative.
It's very commoditized. Also because the platforms have done such a good job at targeting now that you've probably seen the things that Zuckerberg is saying where he's like, just tell us how many customers you want and what you can pay for them and they'll do the whole thing for you. So they've just taken over more and more and more control over the advertising process. And so yeah, the creative is the leverage right now. And so yeah, you can't out media buy bad creative.
It won't even spend.
Yeah, they're like,
that's
this
the thing.
sucks.
You can't even spend the money. It just won't even show it. Because if they don't want to show a bad thing to a user because they'll stop their session,
Yeah.
right? It's just like organic.
Yeah.
It's the same.
That's the thing is like organic and ads are merging.
It's honestly amazing how like one-to-one it is actually. Yeah.
Which is also kind of the same degree of like, oh, direct response isn't working anymore. It's like, it's just, you need to provide value to an audience and make content so that like, if you think about most sane people, if you saw an ad that you actually had never seen this person before, the first thing you do is usually not, oh, I'm going to click this and then give them my information. Most people click over the profile and then you look around and you see, does this person look legit? You might watch a couple reels of theirs and be like, oh, this person sounds like they have a brain cell or they've done something. Now you go back and then you opt in and you continue down the path. And so for somebody who's a micro, smaller creator, I see it as working as lead nurture too. Like it just kind of nurtures those leads. They're kind of like little mini VSLs that happen. And I'm not saying you like solicit your audience in every reel. I'm saying that you just provide value in a very distinct way.
It's funny you said that about copywriting because I said to Kirby the other day, I swear editors are becoming the new copywriters in a way. Yeah. That's the new place. Like everyone's in these feeds and you need to get in there and you need to learn how to get in there. It's the same with ads. It's the same with short form. Yeah. Any other questions? Or actually, we'll talk about the future of the space. And then we can take a few questions. So, and the space, I mean like online education, making money online,
Yeah. Well, I think communities are a really good idea. I feel pretty confident about that. At least for the foreseeable future, communities are good. You have to build trust. I think proof first rather than promise as your primary objective. And so like even when you're building your businesses, when you're building your customer journeys, think about each moment that a customer is going to go through that I want to capture. Like you should be building, like my preferred way of building a business is a self-licking ice cream cone, which is how can I create within the customer journey a way that the customer will advertise enough or give me enough material to get my next customer. Because when you can do that, then the whole thing becomes a kind of like a virtuous cycle. It's like each customer from the experiences they have can bring me 1 or 2 more customers, because you can obviously do this from like a viral coefficient from like the tech world. It's like, okay, every person who comes to the platform brings another however many. But from some businesses that aren't as viral, you kind of have to think of it from the other perspective, which is like, how can I capture media in such a way, which would be a combination of like testimonials, reviews, or just the experiences they have, that I can then repurpose and then generate enough media and attention to get my next customer. And so it's kind of like it's like the marketing side of virality versus the product-driven virality. Both you can do, but sometimes it can be harder to get quote virality within kind of like a community. And so I think about it from the marketing perspective. And so I think in terms of like building this for the future for everyone here, that's how I think about how to build these things well. I think leaning into AI obviously is going to be an important thing. I don't think we need to harp on that, but I think trying to get as much leverage as possible. The fact that Nick, who's number 1 right now and has no employees, I think is a great testament to a couple things. I think one is that many entrepreneurs need to be way more efficient with their time, which means like how many things can you eliminate so that you can just focus on the few things that actually drive value. I think you had a great observation, which is, hey, me doing calls, like I personally do not like doing calls. I did them years ago, and I don't, I'm not a huge fan. And I think the reasoning behind it also makes sense, which is like, I only really provide value to the one person who hops on this call. Everyone else is kind of like waiting their turn. And then you have like some element of crossover if they're, solving the same problem. But when you respond to something publicly, everybody gets to kind of use that response. And only 10% of your audience is even gonna attend live, and maybe another 10% at most will watch the recording. So you're 80%, you're only providing value to maybe the 20. Whereas there, you can reference it back so that somebody else who has a question can see it. And I think all of those things are really positive. So we just have to think, how do we get more leverage on our time? Part of that's going to be through systems. A lot of it is going to be through elimination. And some of it's going to be through AI.
It's interesting with the Q&A format too. It bombs as a YouTube video always too. So it's like, it's kind of inefficient the whole way through.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah.
No one goes into a community and it's like, have you seen these where like, and we have 300 past Q&A calls as like a bonus feature? Like not one person's like, oh, I did it for the Q&A calls. Like, I can't wait to watch 300 hours of someone answering the same 19 questions. Yeah, not the biggest fan there. I think that you can probably really efficiently answer the questions, like answer them very well, and then just leave them as artifacts, and then just kind of librarian them, like, boop, there you go. Rather than you saying a bastardized 20% version because you're exhausted of saying the same answer. It's like thoroughly answer it once, make it an artifact, reference it.
So that's a good point about the Q&A calls, people not joining for that. So other than the creator, what do you find are the biggest draws for a customer to join a community?
Well, it kind of depends what it's about, right? So if it's about pickleball, I would have want to have seen the dude or girl play pickleball somewhere, and they should be somewhat proficient, and they should look like they like it, and they're not just doing it because someone told them that this is where all the money is. And then it's just like, it should just make sense. Like, it should speak to you as a pickleball player, for example. Like, they should know how to articulate your problems and what you want, and because they know it, they're like immersed in it, right? So just, there is something, like there is a clear market, and the person is good at it, and they just talk directly to you about it in a good price, and a demonstration of them doing it. Like,
Proof.
Yeah.
I'll give you a little 4-part framework that I think through whenever I'm trying to sell anything, which is more good stuff, less bad stuff if you do what I want you to do, more bad stuff, less good stuff if you don't do what I want you to do, and make it specific. Because like copy works in the specific, not in the vague. And so if I said more good stuff for you, if you opt in, you're probably not going to be super compelled by that. But if I said, hey, have you ever have your line catch when you're trying to like pull in a fish? It's like only somebody who actually does it would know that pain. And that's what you want, like that's the copy that converts. And so I think that's why a lot of you guys who are really successful with your communities often start as your avatar. Because like you can try and do the really hard way of like, I'm gonna do all this market research. I think this segment is underserved and blah, 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 blah. You can do all that, or you can just be the person for 5 years and be like, no, I know everything that sucks about this. And then you can talk to it with a real, like an authentic story. And I think that is typically works better.
Well, I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on free trials in communities and how you assess if it was a successful campaign.
Well, if you don't need to do them, you don't need to do them. And you know that because you can just, you can, if you've got a big audience, for example, and you've got a paid group and you just point them straight at it and they buy with a great conversion rate and you hit all of your goals, like you don't need to do a free trial, right? But I think they're a great tool when you can't get people to join or you can't get enough people to join, because you'll definitely get more people joining, right? And then like the step even down from there is you just have a free community, right? Because that's even easier to get people to join. So it's just, yeah, like what fits best for your situation, I guess.
There are, I think there's a really good frame for this, which I call there's many ways up the mountain, which is like, if you think about a mountaintop, there's a bunch of different paths. And so trying to be like, well, this path is the best path. It's like all the paths are gonna be different. Some have more rocks, some have more trees, some have better scenes. Like some take shorter, some take longer. And so there's a lot of obsession, I think, in the entrepreneur, or really most communities, of like, what is the perfect answer? And so then we delay taking action to try and find the perfect path. But most paths, if you just start on them, will get you there. And you'll learn the unique, differences of that path. Because I can tell you right now that there are successful communities on Skool that do all three of the things we just said, that are free and then paid. There's free trial into paid, and then there's just straight paid. And all three, there's tons of successes on all three of them. So I'll give you one other thing that I've been thinking a lot about, which is the longer I've been doing like advertising and marketing in general, both on the content and the kind of the paid side, the less I think that, I lean less and less on like persuasion hacks and things like that, and more on, I think we fundamentally just filter for the audience. And so I'll give you an example. So we run these very small workshops at our headquarters, and we have a 65 to 70% accuracy on who would buy a service from us. And so if we know with 65 to 70% certainty who's going to buy before we've done anything, how much is what we're doing changing the outcome? And so a lot of it becomes selecting for the person that we're looking for more than anything else. And so I know that like in the direct response, internet marketing, whatever world, we get obsessive about like, oh, I'm converting 4%. It's like, it just really just means that your ads are bringing in 96% people who are never going to buy, and then you have the 4%, and then you just clearly explain what you have, and they say, oh, that's right for me. And so I think there's romanticism around these black boxes of like NLP and these crazy language. I don't believe, I basically believe in none of it. Just tell them what you have, prove that you can do it, and show people who are like them, and you'll pretty much be good to go.
Some of the highest conversion rates we see come from people that don't know anything about copywriting. They just know their thing, like weight loss or whatever, like menopause. It's very specific, right? They just say the things and boom, it just explodes. Yeah.
And they have, like in the direct response world, there was an old saying, which is less common now because people don't have to pay for mailing lists and but the money was in the list. And so the first thing before they even, like if you were to like look at someone's direct mail campaign, I know this is like way outdated for most of you, but if the first thing you'd look at if something wasn't converting is you'd look at the list. You wouldn't even look at the mail piece. You look at who's showing it to. Because like I can make the most compelling offer in the world. If I have an audience of people who aren't business owners, no one's buying. Like my stuff is not for them. And so the goal is that someone says, oh, this is perfect for me. And most people, when they see something that's perfect for them, if they have the means, they buy it. And so I think persuasion has a very small delta on like, and a lot of the persuasiveness is just being clear and being specific. Like it's a lot more around communication than it is around like a lot of the hacks that exist. And this has just dramatically simplified my life, which is like, I just make sure that all my writing is at 3rd grade. And I say like, good stuff this way, bad stuff this way. And I just try and be specific in how I describe it. And for the right person, they just immediately say, oh, this is for me, I'm in.
Yeah, I thought about that too. It's like the efficiency of the meaning per word.
Yeah.
Like you're trying to be very clear at communicating to someone. That's the real game, not using all of these weird words and highlighters and underlines and all that stuff, which you might not have ever seen, but it's from back in the day.
Well, it's like this artistry. And I'll tell you, I think a parallel example that might make sense for some of you. So if you've ever taken like a phone sale before, which maybe half of you have, there's a huge amount of lore and mysticism in the sales community around tonality. Like, oh, you've got to have the curious tone. You've got to have a pensive tone for this. I was just like, because I heard my guy saying this, and I was like, what the fuck does that mean? I was like, show me a curious tone. I was like, well, why don't we describe what you can actually do? You can raise your voice. You can change how loud you talk, but over the phone that matters little, right? You can change how you enunciate, like literally, are you saying the letters in the word? You can change when you pause, and you can change how fast you talk, right? The thing is that 3 of those ones you just want to keep constant. You want to speak loudly enough they can hear you, you want to speak slowly enough they can understand you, and you want to enunciate the words. Period. That just helps for all conversion, I promise you. And then the only 2 things you have to control as a salesperson is when do you raise your voice and when do you shut the fuck up? That's it. And both of those exist to either draw attention to something you said, because if I pause long enough, then I draw attention to the words that I'm saying. And if I raise my voice, then I also solicit a response. And so all we're doing is telling them, when are you supposed to talk back to me, and where do you need to pay attention? And the point where it makes the most sense to do both is when you ask them to buy. You raise your voice, and you shut up. Pay attention to what I said, now say something back. And so by doing that, I say this because there's a lot of this mysticism around selling when the more I've thought about it and the more I've done this, the more it's just like very clear communication. And I think that now to be clear, it takes a lot of effort to be very clear and very concise with your communication. So for sure it's a lot of work, but I think if you just erase, and unfortunately a lot of people with educators in the space, they benefit from trying to confuse, from making it appear as though their audience is deprived of secrets. And so people say, oh, this guy has some secrets, and so they make up all these mechanisms and these unique whatevers, right? But at the end of the day, like, it's just very clear communication to the right avatar, and that is what is going to be the most persuasive. As long, and especially if you have a positive history reinforcement with them. You've told them to do stuff in the past and it has worked. And then that way they're like, well, I've done stuff this guy said before, I'll do this too.
When you were on like the Hormozi rise, how would you...
Hormozi rise?
The Hormozi rise, and you were just...
I'm not anymore. I'm on the
I thought he said Mosey Rice.
I heard that too. I was like, when was I in this rice? Yeah.
How would you utilize Skool to monetize your audience if the objective was to make money back when you were like rice?
Oh, you mean like before content, like gym launch days, all that stuff? I mean, honestly, I think the same way that you guys are. And I think there's some very cool things coming down the pipeline that would make it extremely efficient.
Hormozi wants tiers, everyone.
Yeah. Subscription tiers, I'm
badly.
so amped for. Well, I'll sell you on why. Well, because of now that the free trial and free communities have been unified with paid communities, like that's made the business model so much like even simpler. But now that we have unlimited subscription tiers, the whole business can now be contained in one place. Everything. And because of I don't know how much you've shared about like the
Oh, the thing I just told you about?
Yeah.
Oh, nothing.
Okay, yeah. Well, yeah. So, well, in a matter of, call it 6 weeks or 8 weeks, I'm not making, any commitments, but like, you will be able to do every single thing that you need to do in the business in one place. All of it. Literally everything. Like actually everything. Not kind of everything. All the way everything. And so, my God, does that make it simple for you? It makes it simple for your team. It makes it simple for the customer. It makes it simple for everybody. But with regards to what I would be thinking about is like, what I had to do before is I had 3 Facebook groups. I had a free group, I had a front end thing, and I'm sure you had the first thing, and then you had quantum, you had all these different.
And I only ever paid attention to one. The
Right.
rest of them always turned to shit because I never looked.
And then you select, and you took all the good people and put them and then it's like.
Yeah.
Right. And so this way, you have all the people in a bucket, but you can still segment them enough because the tiers will give people access to different information, different calls, different meetups that you can do in person, and it's all organized on a calendar, so it's really clear. And if someone's like, oh, I want to be a part of that, it's like, click, you can buy it.
Synergy.
Yeah.
I think that's the key part. When you separate them, there's no synergy.
Yeah, because one of the things that I did that I thought was relatively intelligent was when I did do calls, as much as I tried to not do them, when I did do them, I invited everybody. And so people were like, wait, there's no call that's separate for the ballers from the not ballers? And I was like, nope, I can help them just the same. I just said, I'll prioritize ballers, so ballers go first. I answer all the baller questions. And then everybody else was like, man, I want to be a baller. And I was like, join the baller community. And then that was it. It was just, like, I didn't need it, but people were like, oh, I don't want to tell them my secrets. It's like, demonstrate, just prove. They're like, oh my
Plus,
God.
if everyone's a baller, then it's not as cool.
Yeah.
Because you're talking to people just like you. So like having people that aren't a baller makes it more cool in a way.
Yeah, they want they want status, so you can give that to them. But yeah, no, I think that how I would utilize Skool today is that I would have one bucket that I put everybody in. I would see Skool as basically another social media platform that you could put your content into that's in that community. People will engage with it. Certain percentage of people will move up, and basically I would just start the customer journey I'd reverse it from media all the way up the kind of ascension of how do I get people to buy the most expensive thing that's right for them. But the subscription tiers allow us to do all of that stuff. And that's why to me, that's why it's so exciting. You could have a tier 1, a tier 2, and a tier 3 all in the same community. The calls are separated, but they're all on one calendar. It just like, it streamlines it's like, it's sick. I'm very excited about it. I just know how much easier this is going to be for everybody. That's why I get stoked about it.
Cool. Let's get the goat up here.
Yeah.
I always call him the goat, and I sometimes forget what his name is. It's Nick Sareve.
Is this thing on?
What do you think he should sit on the other side?
So we're just interrogating kind of? Yeah. Make it really aggressive.
That's gonna be fun.
You get the green chair for money.
Very cool.
Here, I'm gonna do one of these.
Thank you.
A little more breathing room.
So I'll do a little intro for Nick, who is Nick Sareve. Is that how you say it?
Not even close, no.
Okay. How do you say it?
It's Sarayev.
All right, Nick Sarayev. He is #1 on Skool with 330 grand MRR. He's currently the GOAT,
Congrats,
which is... I wasn't even finished because it gets better. He has no team and 95% profit margins.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I feel like I could get used to being up here. This is very comfy.
Oh, the chairs are great.
Yeah, right?
Are these Skool chairs?
Yeah.
They're comfy.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah, fan.
Okay, so we're going to just ask you some questions about your school.
Cool.
What's your school about?
Well, if I screw up answering this, oh boy.
Pressure.
It's the straightest line path to getting your first customer for an AI or automation related service.
What's an example of that? Like getting a job or getting a client in this kind of thing? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, it's mostly like for service implementations that involve AI. So you guys are probably familiar with like no-code builders and platforms like Make.com or NA10 or the many that are out there. There's this whole business model that has sprung up, basically providing implementation services using those tools to SMBs or enterprises. So a good example of that might be some simple email onboarding system or something like that, where you have like a dentist. Dentist is a poor example. You have some B2B marketing agency, and then they sign a new client. They don't know how to do the automations themselves since they specialize in marketing, so they hire out like an AI automation company to build a quick email onboarding system in Make. And they might pay $1,500 or $2,000 for that. There's also recurring services and retainers and stuff like that you could sell. But yeah, I would say that's probably mostly representative of the people that join. So that's what they want. They want their first customer for that service.
There is a market for it.
Oh, there's definitely a market.
It's the most searched for thing in Discovery, by the way. AI and AI related words, by the way. Yeah.
I could totally see that.
I think that right now there's this, I'll call it AI guilt, that I think is like really pervasive. I think everyone's like, shit, I should be using AI more. And I think it's especially prevalent with business owners. And so they're like, I know I need to do this, but I work in my business all day and I still have my normal fires that I have to put out. And so I think it's definitely ripe for people who are good at it to come in and just say, hey, I will just help. I'll watch what you're doing and I'll just replace piece by piece throughout the business so that you can do other stuff, or you don't need this person.
Yeah, more or less in a nutshell. It's just, it's like anything else, right? Specializing. So you hire a marketing agency to help you with marketing. Well, now there's this new AI automation thing that you can do. And I say new loosely here, like the business model's been around for, I think, the last like 3 or 4 years. This isn't something that just cropped up. It's very well established at this point.
I'm curious to know what you want to know, Hormozi, because I've got some basic questions, like how do you get your traffic?
Yeah.
You want to know about that one?
Well, I would just go click to close to repurchase in terms of how I'd think, like, chronologically, the customer path. Like, okay, I see a video, and then you walk back. I would walk backwards from there.
Yeah, I think a key theme for today, I guess there are a couple of key themes so far, just based on the conversations that I've heard you guys have. One is authenticity, of course, and just how, there's this rising floor for authenticity. And if you want like a really good conversion mechanism, the straightest line path is just being authentic as possible today, right? The other is, I think, just consistency. And I want to touch on both of them when I explain this. So yeah, like my whole conversion thing is I run a YouTube channel, and then I put Skool as the direct CTA link at the bottom of every video. And just that's the funnel.
That sounds complex.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot going on over there. Let me break it down further. But no, I find it really funny because everybody's like, my God, how the heck did Maker Skool make all this money? How are you successful with this community stuff? And I'm like, I just put a link down. Isn't that what you guys do? And they like bring out this huge flow chart that's like 700 steps. I'm like, what the fuck is that, right? But yeah, it's I just put the link in the YouTube video, and then I basically rest the entirety of my success just on like my character, I would say, and then I just show up a lot. So yeah, in terms of like if we do map this out as a funnel, there's a link in the description is the first link, and as we know, anything above the fold obviously is disproportionately clicked on, so I just put it there. I do I have started doing some CTAs. I don't like doing the CTAs, so I'm actually going to dial back on them. So I do very, very minimal CTAs, and then I just record videos that are like 99% value, extraordinarily long form content, me talking just like this with basically no prep, just yapping. And I don't think I'm like exceptional at it, but I'm okay. And then what I've realized is what Alex was touching on at the beginning, which is that if you just like be you essentially craft that market of one of people, and you naturally build your market. You don't need any like fancy tactics or anything. You just show up, and you can get to the point where like you're comfortable enough just being you on camera. And then if you make enough content and you maximize the surface area that you have, and you're good at what you do, like in my case, I consider myself pretty exceptional at this AI and automation stuff, of course. That's a prerequisite, by the way. You need to be good at what you do, obviously. But if you just show up and you maximize the surface area, like eventually, you form this unstoppable content machine. And I'm lucky enough that I'm in this niche AI that is just obviously growing. There's a lot of like positive connotations with it. There's a lot of inherent interest in it and stuff like that. But you can do it for anything.
So no ads?
No ads.
Do you do any short form, or is it just long form YouTube?
Yeah, I started the short form on Instagram like 3 or 4 months ago. I think 4 months ago. And I think from the outside looking in, the numbers, like, they look great. We're almost at 300K on the Instagram. But the sort of content that I'm producing is fundamentally different to the sort of content on the YouTube. It's just like short form, hyper edited AI news style reels, right? And to be honest, it's not really like where my heart is. I was just doing this as an experiment. And it works reasonably well, I think.
You'll burn out in 2 years. No. It's like, I hate it. You're like, it's only going to get worse. No.
No, I mean, the thing is though, like, to minimize the burnout, because I know we were talking about creator burnout later, like if you just are yourself as often as possible and as consistently as possible, I find that that's not even a thing. Like, I just haven't even, I have all these people being, how do you produce so much? So sorry, I know I'm all over the place here. Let me take a step back. I produce these really long form videos. They tend to be like 30 to 60 minutes or so in length, and then I just do them every like 24 to 48 hours. And I've just done that for like 3 or 4 months consistently. So the total...
It's insane.
Yeah, that's a lot of videos, right?
Well, I mean,
for me,
it's a lot of videos, but I'm more saying that you've been doing that for 3 or 4 months, and that's what's generated an audience that is now doing, pacing $4 million a year.
Yeah, no, I didn't start the YouTube channel 4 months ago. I started it, I think, like 15 or 16 months ago, but I had a period of about...
Oh, geez. He's an old man.
Back in my day.
Yeah.
But yeah, like when I launched the YouTube channel, I just published a video every day, and it was like 30 to 45 minutes. And here's my rationale on that more generally, and I think it lines up with both of your guys' philosophies surrounding content. And I know from a fact some other people's here, but like if you're good at what you do, your whole goal should just be maximizing the number of people that see it. And so you should just focus on building a lifestyle or like a production mechanism or whatever that just allows you to talk about the stuff you want to talk about for a very long time, very consistently. So if you can get in the habit of doing this, like 30 to 45 minutes a day or something, and if the total published thing is 30 to 45 minutes, you will accumulate this incredible number of watch minutes or watch hours of your content on the internet. And then it's just inevitable that you will succeed because you are good at what you do. So you are better than the average of the rest of the content out there. It's just a discoverability problem, right? So that's my whole philosophy behind that. I just published a ton of content talking about AI, and then eventually found that market of one, I would say.
I think it sounds easier because you were already good at it.
Yeah.
So all you had to do was talk about it.
Yeah.
Right.
First step: be born beautiful. I want to touch on two little things that he said. So number one, when you talk about like some people are like, oh, let me pull up my flow chart for how I get customers. I think my views on this have shifted over time, which is kind of like conversion rate optimization. So if we think about like all the people that see your stuff is just like 100% of a circle, right? Actually, let's do it like a pyramid, right? So you've got a triangle. Let's say that we just know that like 1% of those people are just going to naturally want to buy something with basically just a link at the bottom of the video. They will just click it and then they will buy, right? I see CRO as just moving that line down the pyramid, but you can never CRO to 100%, right? So it's kind of like a one-time pull that might double, how much you make, maybe even triple how much you make, but there's a cap, right? Like you can't sell 200% of the people who see your stuff. There's only 100%, and so the order of magnitude increases that happen in throughput will typically come from volume of traffic, and so if you're like, man, I really want to make more. You have a one-time lever that's there, and that'll be great for this month or this quarter. But then, like after you've done that, you're then going to still have to be like, well, shit, I just need way more people. And so this is something that I spent, I think, earlier part of my career way too much time obsessing about, which might be a common theme of today. Which is I was like, man, how do I get these tiny little increments when I just like missed the overarching obvious thing, which is like, earlier on, I was like, I just need every gym owner in America to know who I am. Like that's all I have to like. If I do that, then I win. And so to the same degree, like. The YouTube stuff that we do now, it's like I just need business owners to know who I am, right? So I just think is like point number one is conversion optimization only gets you a one-time pop on an existing flow, and then you're going to have to go back to increasing the flow. The second thing was what you said about CTAs. Something that I think about with like the give to ask ratio, as long as because I want to say this just because I don't want anyone to be afraid of, because it's kind of like the people who. Some of you for sure should make fewer CTAs, like for sure. But it's like in the gym world, there were people who you had to be like, hey, you need to try harder at the gym, and because they just never try that hard, like they never like put enough weight on. And then there's just the other camp that would just murder themselves every time they came in the gym. You're like, you need to like maybe cool it a little bit. There's just very few that are in the middle, and it's just because polars are very easy to do. It's very hard to kind of like walk that balance. But if you think about some of the biggest and fastest growing even shows or podcasts in America, like many of them have ads that are other people's stuff, not even their own, and they still continue to grow. And so I take that as kind of like a hypothetical extreme of, as long as you maintain the ratio of like this overall was a rewarding experience. I think you can get the best of both.
It's funny too that like the highest earning people in Skool, they just have a social profile or a few, and a link in bio to a Skool community. That's the funnel. Like it's gotten pretty simple.
Yeah, and they focus on the big thing, which is how do we get more people to find out about my
more
stuff.
Content, more subs, more views. Yeah,
Mr. Beast doesn't need to do CRO, taken to the hypothetical extreme. Like he just says, hey, here's the thing, go grab it. So I try to cater this for the fact that some people who are watching do not have that, right? They don't have that audience. And so they're like, okay, well, the difference between 10 and 25,000 a month is a huge difference in my life. So that's where like that CRO pop can make a difference. But if you extend the time horizon out, well, if we just get really good and make a lot more stuff about it, you'll probably get to 25 and then still have that pool like in your back pocket if you ever need it.
Yeah, like the lever,
Yeah.
I would say for the vast majority of businesses, the bottleneck, whether it's an info product or a coaching business or hell, an agency or whatever it is, just tends to be like the top of the funnel. And I think maybe there's a question I have for you. I don't know if am I allowed to ask
No,
questions?
you can do whatever you want.
You know, I feel like all roads ultimately, when you are a content creator, do lead to the top of the funnel. And I've noticed that like a lot of content creators start speaking specifically about some tiny thing that they're incredibly amazing at. And then over time, as they get bigger and bigger and bigger, then they naturally start catering to that broader audience. Is that what you have done?
I think when you have demonstrable proof, because what happens is I think first you're really good at AI, right? And then over time, you're now developing the fact that you're also really good at YouTube, which is a whole nother skill, and that you get more demonstration of proof for. And then you also have like, well, I'm also the top school community, so it's like another demonstration of proof. And so it's like the more things you do, the more things you get good at, and so then the more people will be attracted to one of those things, and then I think the audience does naturally broaden. Mm-hmm. So like, it literally started, it's like I was good at getting people in shape. And then I got good at the business of getting people in shape. And so then people were like, hey, how do you do the business getting people in shape? And then I built a really big business around that. And then people who had big businesses in general were like, how do you build a big business? And so you just naturally, your skill set gets so diverse that you naturally start getting chunked up because people are like, oh, this guy's just good at what he does. And I think you start to develop that reputation. And then I think more people are generally attracted to that than the specific thing. But to be clear though, the hardest core people will always be the people who are into that very small thing. Like the hardest core audiences I have will be gym owners still to this day.
We got some questions? Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, we'll try to use a microphone when we can, just for the people who are going to watch later. Yeah.
So do you focus on creating or packaging your YouTube videos, or you're focusing on creating momentum? That's my first question. And second question is, what's the difference between the YouTube funnel, the URL in the description or first comment, and the one on the short form? Because I've studied both your funnels, and I've seen that on the short form, it's a little bit different, like comment X and I'll send you the resources, afterwards free messages, with the final destination to be on the newsletter, and you're selling the community in the newsletter. What do you feel about the newsletter versus YouTube funnel and the packaging of the videos?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so two questions there. The first was, do I personally focus more on just like getting a ton of content out versus optimizing and packaging it, right? So when I started, all I really cared about was just maximizing the surface area between me and then all of the people that may like me if they were to come into contact with me. And then the better and broader that got, like the bigger my audience got, I think necessarily the more the focus becomes, okay, how do I optimize this? So, I have naturally started moving towards things like Alex was talking about with hooks and whatnot. And I do find disproportionate results with hooks. What's really interesting to me is I had this strategy guy that I was talking about this with, and he recommended that I take some very low performing videos that I'd recorded. I'm talking like 3 or 4 months into my YouTube career, which were just like value packed like the rest of my content, but they weren't like, the packaging was really poor. I just like pulled it out of my ass last second. I had this thing where I wanted to post a video every day, and it was like 11:55, and I'm like, oh my god, what's the title? And I just like picked something, pulled something out of my ass, and posted it. Anyway, what we ended up doing was we ended up repackaging this into some big master course, which I'm sure you guys have seen people do on YouTube now. They have a bunch of content related to a topic, and then they film like an intro, then maybe some transitions between each like other video. Stitch it all together into something pretty nice. And then I did it, and then it ended up being my top performing video of all time. So like that tells me that the content, the value of the content was already very high, and then it was just like a packaging issue. And so I think you can go really far with better packaging, but I wouldn't let that stop you from just like getting started with the momentum and producing content. Because again, like if I could think of this as prime directive wise, prime directive is just maximizing how much content I have out there. And the second one is, like optimizing it. Similar to what Alex was talking about a moment ago, where you broaden the top of funnel and then you worry about like the CRO and stuff like that after. That's basically what this is, right? And then the second question was about...
And be good.
Yeah, and don't suck, yeah.
Yeah, someone asked me the other day, like, why is Hormozi good? And I said, well, the most important thing at the core is that he's good at business. And you can tell because there's progression, right? And then I was like, it's the books, second. And then I was like, it's the longer form content. And then it's the shorter form. And then it's the hooks right at the end. But they're still super important, right? Like, but you need, some people focus on the hooks and they've got no market. So you're, like Hormozi's example, someone slapping that woman. Like, that's the hook, but for who? Like,
Yeah, right.
and for what? Now you've got their attention, and now what are you going to do? So, like, I think that's a good way to think about it, the talent and then the things out from it. Yeah.
And if you max out talent, like Elon does not think about hooks. I'm almost positive that he does not. And yet he has like almost more followers than anyone else because he has fucking rockets. That's his hook, right? And so like also to the same degree, like Jimmy, like Mr. Beast, he's obviously insane at all that stuff, but like he also knows if you ever, doesn't matter, but like he will be the first to say the idea is what matters the most. And so for him, obviously he's an entertainer, which is different than education, I'll be really clear. But for him, his proof is that he actually builds a pyramid, or he actually like lights a Lamborghini on fire, whatever, whatever his thing is, right? Is that he actually does something absurd. And in the education space, like the entertainers have to prove that they're really gonna do this crazy thing to entertain you. The educators have to prove that they've already done something that is really worth giving them attention for.
The other thing is if you do have the talent and you do make the content, the hooks do make a big difference. So like you shouldn't ignore them, right?
Yeah.
Like we even noticed with Skool News, if we just have a lame thumbnail or the first thing we talk about is kind of lame, even though the video is good, it's still, we're like, oh shit, we got to pay attention to it. Like
first 30 seconds, like if you just think, what do I get them to click? And then making sure that whatever you visually displayed and the headline matched immediately what they hear in the video first, then you've probably done an 80-20 on doing a good job. If you wanted to add a little bit more, then you look at other high-performing content in your niche and then say, okay, these packaging concepts work well. Let me just retrofit my first 30 seconds to make sure that this matches.
I think the other distinction, which I think you were getting at, was on YouTube, you have link in bio and link in description, but maybe on Instagram, what converts best is get people to comment, and then you use that, what's it called? ManyChat. Is that what you're doing there?
Yeah, tactically speaking, that's the idea. But I'll be honest, like, the way that I always see this is the strength of my relationship is the number of seconds of me that the person has consumed. And so on Instagram, the average watch time is like 15 seconds or something. On YouTube, the average watch time is like, I don't know, 5 or 6 minutes or something.
$1,000,000% agree. I just want to like reinforce this point.
So it's 1,000,000 times more powerful. So even though I technically have like gross wise more followers on Instagram and people from the outside looking in are like, my God, you're so much more popular on Instagram. I'm like, yeah, but like that's like 3% of my Maker School subs. Because people don't buy just based off seeing you one time, they buy whatever your formula was 7 times or something like that, right?
I don't have a number formula. But I just want to reinforce the point that you said there, because if someone watches a 2-hour video, the amount of shorts that they would have to watch to be equivalent to the 2 hours it's ungodly. Like if you have an average watch time of 15 seconds, that's 4 per minute. You have 120. You have to watch 480 shorts. Like I really just see the shorts as, I consider them like awareness campaigns. That's all they are.
You heard the story about like the short form creators at that video con thing? Did you hear what happened?
No.
So like the YouTubers that were there, full stadium, and then the short form empty. This happened, like this actually happened, and it was
warms
news.
my heart.
It was at the video. What's it called?
VidCon.
Kirby, yeah.
Oh, did you go to that? I did. Yeah, because Michael. Yeah, because my team went to that. Yeah.
You heard the story. You heard about But I think so. Yeah, it doesn't build depth.
Yeah.
It doesn't build a relationship, but it is the new discovery mechanism. I think. I think of it kind of like Tinder now. So like people are like flick.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, and then swiping. I don't know which way it is. I haven't used Tinder. Right is right. Like you like it.
Yeah.
Okay. So you swipe right. That's like, where's their YouTube?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So like, it's how do you discover things that you might want to consume more of? Does this make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And then I think it's sort of like your first pass, and then you direct them into your long form, and then that's basically your funnel. The CTA is like, hey, come check out the rest of my stuff, and then realize how much you like me.
It's pretty efficient at just rapidly trying to find something you like.
So if you want to gain influence, so like how do we get that depth, right? So like how do we we have these terms, and you said authenticity, and I want to define it for everyone in a second, but like you gain influence with 4 things. So I just remember special, so SPCL, right? So S is status. And so what's status? So status is you control resources that other people want, right? If you're a bartender at a bar, in the bar, you control a scarce resource, so you have status in the bar. You walk outside of the bar, you're just a bartender, no one gives a shit, right? But only when you control the scarce resources, you have status. So that's number one. And when as I go through each of these, you can do one thing that demonstrates all four, to be very clear. They're not, but they are separate. You can do them independently, but some things do them all. The next one is P is power, right? Which is that I give you instructions, you follow those instructions, and a good thing happens for you. It increases, it's a reinforcement cycle. So fundamentally, you want to do stuff, like the reason that Martha Stewart, in my opinion, was the first gigantic influencer is she literally gave women recipes to follow. And then they got a good result. And then they had their families who were like, this pie was amazing. And they were like, I attribute this success to following her instructions. And so then when she came out with a cookbook, the world bought it. And then when she started a store, the world bought it. Like she was the first self-made female billionaire, which I think is not nearly appreciated enough. And then she got witch hunted, but like she for sure, if she had not had that witch hunt, like I think she'd be number 2 on the self-made women's list or number 1 right now. Side note. So status is you control stuff that other people want. Number 2 is that you give people instructions that they follow and get a good thing. C is credibility, is that is a different way of saying like you have proof. Like I did this thing, like look what I did, or like I have some proof that I am good at whatever I'm saying. And then L is likeness. So if you have somebody who has all 3 of the first things, and then somebody else looks just like you and acts like you and believes the same things as you, then you'll be more persuaded by that person, right? And so when you're getting depth in the content, these are the things that you want to be putting in, or at least being cognizant of. Now, so for example, like I sold Gym Launch, right? And that's a sale that doesn't really happen in the space. I don't really know anyone else who sold for a big number. And by doing that, it did a lot of things. So it was like, okay, well, I got status because I had something that people wanted, which can very really just be money. Like that is something that gives people status. You have power, which that one is what the long form content did. So I wouldn't have that from me just having this outcome. But it did give me C, credibility, because I have this proof. So the money and the exit, I would say the money is the status part. The exit is the credibility. And then the likeness is, if you look at my audience, a lot of them look like me. Not all, but if I look by percentage, a lot of them look like me. And if I looked like Layla, I would have a different audience, even if I had everything else. And she has a different audience than I do. And she and I believe a lot of the same things and talk a lot about the same stuff. But she has a very different audience than I do. So when you're thinking about, okay, and what are these things that are controllable for me? The biggest one is that you want to give people instructions that they can follow, which you do in your content, and then they get a good thing. And so they attribute that good thing to you. And so that they are more likely to follow another thing that you tell them to do because a good thing happened last time. You have credibility, which ideally you literally have these machines that you built. And if you have also, I don't know, did you build a business that did this as well?
Yeah, exactly.
Right, and so that's the credibility part. And then if you have money as a result, then that's also something that gets them status. Also, you have a community that you're in charge of. So like all of these things kind of start laddering together, and they are dials. So all of these are not binary. I mean, you can think of them in a binary way, but it's also to what degree. If I were a billionaire, it would be different than if I'm a 100 millionaire, right? If I have one piece of proof versus many pieces of proof. If I give you one recipe that worked versus I give you 100 recipes that work, each of those increase your influence. And so this is at least how I think. Obviously, likeness-wise, you're going to be you the whole time, so that one's kind of a constant. But that's how I think through that. And then the authentic part, because I want to make sure that people who are at home can get it, is that I define authenticity as how you behave when you have no chance of punishment. And so people have to, like, how do you act when you're alone? Like that is who you are authentically. Now, provided the laws of the land you're in allow you to act as though you couldn't be punished, as long as you behave within the laws, that is the quote most authentic you. And so I just think about it from that perspective. Is like, now that means that if you were to post content and you change what you post because you're afraid of not getting likes, then you're not being authentic because you're not acting in a way that you would act if you couldn't get punished.
Oh, sorry, I just noticed that it says goat on his microphone.
Does it really? Slays. I feel like they were like, what's his name? He was like, just put goat.
I had nothing to do with it. That's why I found it funny.
So hopefully that was helpful. I know there's a little bit of a little bit deeper dive, but hopefully you found that useful. So that's traffic. And then shorts, you do money chat, and then they DM.
That's a common pattern, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, for some reason, Instagram, get people to comment.
Yeah. It's on the DMs.
Use mini chat, yeah. But
It's
on
on the
YouTube,
DMs.
it's link in bio, link in description. Yeah. If you look at the top people, they're all doing that. The other thing I've noticed is websites are kind of gone now. Like, how often do you find yourself on a website?
Yeah, I mean, basically.
Never, right?
No. I mean, social media pages are websites
Platforms.
plus because you
it's
also
platforms
have,
pointing to platforms now.
Yeah, but like when you're on, I don't know, LinkedIn or something, it's like you get all the same information that you would otherwise get on a website, but you also get a ton of social proof, which is incontrovertible.
Yeah.
And handles sell for more than domains a lot of the time now. It's like,
yeah.
And for younger people, this was kind of it took me, like, I swear, 2 years to fully understand this, because in my era, you know, I'm pretty old, websites were huge, but the younger people never had a website. Yeah. And so that's an interesting thing I've noticed. It's just social following straight to, like, about page crushes. But then, what are you doing to, like, reduce churn? Have you found, what are your best things that you know about that?
Yeah, number one's just maintaining really high activity, honestly. Like in my case, because I'm organic, and this is going to differ if you guys are doing some sort of ads-based thing, right? Where maybe like your character, your personality is less of the draw. But no, I mean this entirely non-facetiously. You know, like people get sold in your character because, again, they see you with lots of watch minutes. So it's not like an argument that you're making. It's not like, hey, go to this VSL where I'm going to like outline why you should join. It's literally just like, hey, you like me and you believe me. And, you know, obviously you think I'm authentic, as Alex was talking about earlier. So you're more likely to do it, right? So because of that, they just want to see you, right? Like that's the big lever to pull, just be around pretty often. And I find it, who here hasn't read if you guys all read that Skool post that I made, I don't know, a few days ago now?
It was a great post.
Yeah, really thank you. Well, to make a long story short, like every time that I show up and then I make a post in the community, like it gets bumped up to the top of the Skool Q&A, forum side. And then everybody just sees that I'm present. And then if they see that I'm present every single day, it's just sort of like I'm their shepherd or their steward, like I'm helping them along this path or along this journey. And then when they see me do it, just because of the reputational benefits and the positive association they have with me, they're like, oh wait, if Nick can do it, I can do it too. Like this is a culture of giving value, and if the dude that's leading the community is doing it a lot, then I'm going to do it more. And then what do you get from that? Just knock-on engagement. And then like, what do I think the biggest and best churn reducer is? And I don't have the lowest churn by any means. But
what is your churn?
I think it's 25% today, something like that. We've gone up significantly over the course of the last 2 months or so, back when it was like 16.8. But to make a long story short, like what is the best churn reducer? It's just like, it's engagement, right? Every time somebody engages, they form like micro relationships and associations with other people in the community. And those associations are typically, they end up being much stronger than the actual benefits of like being in the community that you can write in your about page, right? So yeah, like showing up every day is really like the main lever, I would say. What else is really interesting is I went on this spree where I posted every single day for like 40 days or something on YouTube, and it was my biggest growth run to date. We gained something like 40,000 subscribers in that month, which is big, relatively speaking, just based off the size of my audience. And when I posted every single day, like we got churned down to the lowest it ever was. It was like 16.8%, something along those lines. And that's when the curve of my revenue growth was just crazy, almost vertical. So I also think that just showing up every day is important. And then there's one more thing. For those of you guys that don't know, Maker School's whole thing is daily accountability. So I think that daily accountability is the main reason why I was able to be as successful as I am. And so I try and pass that on to all the people in the group, right? Like, they're like, oh, how do I be successful? And then I'm like, oh, you just show up every day for a very long period of time. So then I just do it, right? I just do it in front of them. And then they're like, my God, this is an insane amount of content. How are you doing it? I'm like, well, I'm just showing up every day. So I think there's some sort of like knock-on effect to that where it's like, it's congruent with the stuff that I'm teaching and talking about as well. And then that, significantly reduced churn during that period. So all in all, those I would say are the main benefits. Oh, and there are a couple other tactical hacks that I could share as well if you're interested in that. Like bottom floor stuff. Price increases were big for me. So I'm sure a lot of you guys probably implement some level of price increases. $10 a month today, but then at 100 members, we're going to go up to $20 a month or something. So I did that. And obviously the implicit thing there is, hey, if I'm getting in at $10 a month and now it's $20 a month, if I want to leave, and when I come back, it's going to be $20 a month. I'm going to pay more. So why don't I just stay in for now, right? Like that is subconsciously occurring in the people's minds for sure. And then another thing is, the little about section to the right side of the Skool, or like the general, or I don't know exactly what it's called, but it's where you put a little snippet in that everybody can constantly see. Well, I just put the current price there all the time. And so everybody inside of the community now sees how much money it is from the outside in, because otherwise people just have no inherent mechanism of knowing.
We tell them when they go to cancel, by the way. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
The showing up one's interesting because I remember, Michael Phelps, that swimmer, he had like this thing written down, like his to-do list or whatever. It said, wake up, get in pool. And so I came up with wake up, go to desk. I was like, that's all I need to remember. If I'm at that desk, something will happen. Right? It's actually amazing how simple it makes it. Like if you're going to be good at swimming, get in the damn pool. Like don't think about being in the pool. And for you, just showing up, I would fully agree with that.
I want to piggyback on what Nick said. So the speed that you did this is obviously super impressive, right? Going from 16 months ago. I mean, it's been ages, obviously, but like a whole year and a quarter that you've been making content, and now you have basically a $4 million run rate business, which is amazing, and basically profit. He basically crammed like 5 years of content or 6 years of content into that period of time. And so I think a lot of that speed is like there's just an inordinate amount of volume that has to get done, both to acquire the skill of the core thing, the AI stuff, but also the amount of promotion that has to occur. And so like it costs about $50 million in media to become like A-list celebrity famous. You can back that, I back that out of like, what does it take a no-name to become overnight like recognized person? And so I just looked at movies where the main person had never been like known at all. And then I looked at the media spend for those movies. And basically for about $50 million, you can become like at least a decent sized celebrity. And so there's a certain amount of advertising that must occur in order for you to build the business you want. And it just really becomes a question of how quickly do you want to get that done? Obviously, there's leverage on quality because it gets more views, et cetera. But like all things being equal, and we know that the more you do, the better you get, and the faster you do more, the better you get too, because the feedback cycle's faster. If you make one video a week, you might forget what you learned last week, and it actually takes you 2 or 3 times as long to learn the skill or learn the tweak. Whereas if you did it every day, you're like, oh, what did I do yesterday? That worked really well. Fast feedback loop, you do it again and again. And in 7 weeks, you might get the equivalent of 21 weeks. 7 days, you might get the equivalent of 21 weeks of improvement if you did one a week and at 1/3 the learning speed. So you're thinking 21 times as fast, and it sounds like an absurd number, but there's for sure people who've been doing this for more than 16 months and are definitely at less than a 20th of the revenue. I saw a hand.
Yeah, it sucks to me because, before I was in this position, I would listen to people making these seemingly really trivial statements, just like do more. And then I would be like, well, like, no shit, dude, like, obviously, but what else? What's the sauce? But it ends up just being, do more constantly. Like the amount of volume that you must maintain for a certain period of time, I think, is just so much, it's egregiously more than most people think before they get into something like content. Like when I was starting my very first business, it was a door-to-door marketing business for like SMMA, basically, social media marketing. And I was going like door to door, and I thought my first week I'd get my first client. I was selling like $250 a month Google My Business marketing packages, little crappy things that I had no idea how they even worked. I just made some social media posts for them on Google My Business. But anyway, to make a long story short, I was convinced that I would just like start and then I would knock on 10 doors and I would get my very first customer, and it was amazing. I knocked on something like 2,500 to 3,000 doors, and then at the end of it, I made $7. So like the amount of volume and the expectation mismatch there was literally like 250 to 300 times before I even made $7, let alone $250 a month. And I think that that's probably where most people are starting from, like a similar level of mismatch.
Because Mr. Beast even says that his first however many videos just bombed. So like, I think the main point is you got to make content. You're going to suck at first. You got to keep going, make a lot.
And then even when you get good, it doesn't stop. I mean, I want to give a volume example. Like we put out 35,000 pieces of content this year. Like that's a lot. It's a lot, right? That's a lot.
I wonder if anyone's kept up, like with everything.
Well, I don't think anyone has caught up, but I see it as more people will begin to see some things rather than everyone seeing one thing.
Yeah.
But to be clear, by no means do you need to do that. But I'm, a masochist, and when I see something that works, I will do more of it and try to do it better. Oh, he's got the mic.
Some questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Perfect. So, Nick, the GOAT, I was going to ask you a question in regards to fulfillment, because you mentioned that you don't have a team. And I'm part of the tech category as well. And I know how strenuous the overhead could be dealing with people's technical issues or debugging certain things, which has led to me having quite a big team, right? With SLAs or responding to people in 3 hours with their problems. And yes, it's kept the churn between 1% to 3%, which is really good, but it also makes it really difficult to scale. So is there any systems you put in place to maintain that fulfillment and, people feel like they're gaining a lot of value?
What's your price?
Not having
What's your price?
It is $129.
Okay, cool. No, I just wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of systems, what's really interesting is I don't have an SLA. In fact, it took me a second to remember what the 3-letter acronym meant.
Service level agreement.
Yeah, I think that's just a good example of. I could optimize for all of these things, and I could have pretty rigorous service level agreements and so on and so forth. But I've just optimized further up the funnel, and that's why I don't really need to worry about stuff like that. Just as an aside. But in terms of how I fulfill that, yeah, I do the Q&A entirely on my own, and bugs and automations and stuff like that. As we know, it can be pretty involved. There's a certain cutoff in which I just say, okay, I'm probably not going to be able to fix this for this guy. So what I do is I just zoom out and then I give a bird's eye high-level view of how I would solve the problem, assuming that there was more information. But suffice to say, I could certainly optimize it more. Yeah. On a daily basis, I believe we receive something like 15 automation and bug requests. So 15 automation bug requests. They're 2 minutes each or something like that. On average, it's about 20 to 30 minutes. And this is all predicated on the fact that I'm pretty good at the AI and automation stuff, right? If not, it'd be sort of unreasonable for me to be at the point that I am now with the Skool community. So I can handle most of these requests myself for sure. But what's really cool, and what I think is maybe not talked about as a tactical strategy, is so I respond every morning. That's my whole shtick. I basically just wake up, and as I wipe the crust from my eyes, I roll over and I grab my laptop, and then I'm all right, time to do Maker Skool posts. And then, by the time I'm fully awake and caffeinated or whatever, I'm done with the most important high leverage task of my day, which is freaking awesome, right? But anyway, yeah, the important part of all of this is because I respond to all of these on about a 24-hour cadence, by the time that I check in to most of the bug and automation requests threads, other people in the community have already solved a lot of these problems. And then I just come in and I'm I drop a funny GIF or something. My favorite's the lumberjack nod. There's some lumberjack guy goes there's this old Mandalorian one, if you guys have seen the TV show, and it's this is the way. So I drop that all the time.
That's a common theme, by the way, is people go on a vacation or they take a break and they're worried everything's going to go to shit, and it gets better because it leaves space for the members to be a community, actually. Yeah. Are you doing that, or are you we've got to be in quick?
My anxiety is high right now. So the fact that you touched upon being able to go on holiday, and I feel like I'm quite emotionally involved with the community. So if I was to get any DMs or messages, yes, I know as a founder, there should be an element of disconnect to my teams manage things, but I just often can't help to dive in and give value. And I guess when you're a technical expert on something, it's just saying your knowledge, right? Oh, I know this really well, and I could probably give the best advice on this relative to anyone else, no matter who I hire. So I tend chiming in and just giving that value. So yeah, I'm starting to try and learn to keep my phone away and live my life like a normal person. But
Are you could you handle more people in your community now?
yes, but there'll be a lot of more stress, more hires. And because it's quite niche, I'd have to look for the right people. I think I'd have to compromise in terms of scalability and the fulfillment of like these ridiculous SLAs. And that's why people stick around, right? They'll be like, even if they don't use any of the material, don't use the Skool community, I can literally see people, members that are 0% through the courses and they're 6 months in, but because they see how valuable it is, they have that sort of FOMO
That's what
element.
I think you're actually offering, is it's a service
Yeah.
inside a community.
Yeah.
You have a service business that has a group,
Yeah.
basically. You're
Almost.
offering tech support function. It sounds like you're
I
offering.
have a end-to-end pre-recorded content as well of all the modules, so people go through that. But then technical support.
SLA is the thing that
Yeah,
gives it away for me.
Yeah,
Because what community has a SLA? That's like a service level agreement.
Yeah.
to make sure to get the most value possible.
No,
Yeah.
and to be clear, your churn is showing it. You're at 1 to 3%. So like people are getting value from this. So I that's why I asked, like, can you handle more? Because if you said yes, then I'd be like, cool, don't change anything. Go get more traffic. But if you're like, well, I can't really handle more traffic, then it's like, all right, well, what's the constraint of finding the people who can solve the thing? And then we have to decide, is it easier to get more people or find the person who can do it? Because fundamentally, getting 1 to 3% churn is phenomenal.
There might be no problem here at all.
Yeah, that's where I wanted to get
Yeah,
to. I
it's
didn't want you
just
to
your
break your
style,
business.
right? Like, and it's
Yeah.
working.
Yeah.
Maybe you just need to chill out.
Like
a
you're
little
here,
bit.
like you're here, like you're here. Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
so like obviously things are not bad.
Yeah, I was just thinking in terms of scalability, putting potentially more systems in place to ensure that as I grow, the churn doesn't grow as well. But yeah, some
You
things
got
are
to
just
scale
trade-offs.
and watch where it breaks, and then fix that.
Like scale first, and
Yeah.
like otherwise trying to like I can't scale because if I did something will break versus let's scale and see what breaks,
out,
and then you're like,
yeah.
oh, it's actually maybe nothing will break, or maybe people are fine with 6 hours,
Yeah. Agreed.
or
Thanks.
it bumps from 3 to 24, and all of a sudden it still works fine, but 80% of your tickets disappear. Then you have a 5x leverage without really doing anything else, just letting people fill in the gap. We don't know though, so you
Yeah.
got to try it and
Just
figure it
go
out.
through, get the data, go through the iterations. Agreed. Thanks.
Yeah.
This man.
What are your thoughts on capping the amount of people and just jacking up the price and really just helping all of the people who join? Maybe even taking applications and just selecting the best.
Yeah, I mean, I did this, so I can answer, because that's my first community. It was called Make Money with Make. Make is that no-code platform that I was talking about earlier, and it was hyper-niched and really specific. And I initially capped it at 400 because of concerns like, I'm sorry, I didn't get your name. Like Moret was bringing up a moment ago. I was concerned about my ability to fulfill the needs and requests at that level. So I got ahead of myself and I was like, there's a cap at 400, and everybody get in before 400. And then we got everybody rushing in before 400 because they were like, oh, maybe I'll be left out. But then I realized, oh wait, this takes me 20 minutes a day. Like, damn, probably shouldn't have capped this at 400. So looking back, if I knew then what I know now, it would be that like per unit, like marginal unit, aka additional member added to the community, the additional time constraint on my end is really low. And what do I think about that? I think it's great. It's just I would probably be making $700,000 a month right now if I hadn't done that, kind of gotten my own way a little bit.
Were you charging high ticket?
No, I wasn't charging high ticket. I mean, I think it was like 128 a month, and now I've since moved it. It's like 368 or 370 a month or something like that.
Oh, nice.
So I mean, I think it's like squarely mid-ticket ish. Yeah. But I think it makes sense. I just think that depending on the specific industry and vertical, and if you have SLAs and stuff like that, like I think you could personally fulfill a lot more than most people think just using systems and leverage than from first principles. Hopefully that makes sense.
I want to piggyback on top of this because this might be, well, I'll tell you why. Because when the unlimited subscription tiers come out, my vision, or like what I think will happen a lot, is that many people will kind of find themselves in a little bit of no man's land. To be clear, you're getting 1 to 3% churn, so like I don't want to break anything that you're doing, but I think there will be a lot more businesses that will be coming in, like marketing agencies, content agents, like that. They will just use Skool as the platform that they can have all their members, all their members or their clients in, and then they just provide value to them there in a living email list rather than a dead one that no one's really checking, because you're getting absolute distribution. They can interact with each other, so there's additional value that's getting created at basically no incremental cost to you. You just let them meet one another, which just adds value to your overall offering for basically no cost. But then you still have your service tiers. And what's clear is we have to make sure that we're charging for the right thing. And right now, up to this point, Skool's been largely community driven. And so, the lower price points make sense there because just community, it obviously depends on what it's about. There's big ranges, but I would say, what the averages are. It's like 20.
$50.
Yeah, so $50, like that's the anchor, right? It's like, if I wanted to sell books and I said, hey, I want to sell one book for $1,000, it's kind of hard to do because there's such a strong anchor that a book is $30, like, or whatever it is, right? And so I think what will probably happen, and I don't want people to make the mistake, is there will be a wave of people that will start delivering true services, which you're kind of bordering on, and using Skool as the platform to do that on, but you need to make sure that you're selling it and pricing it as a service. So if Evelyn is running ads for people and doing a done-for-you service and has a done-for-you client pool, she's not saying, hey, one of my service level agreements is that I'll help you run your ads for $50 a month, and then being like, oh my God, I can't scale this because I have 200 people who want this and I'm only making $10,000 a month and my margins are crap. It's like, well, that's because you're trying to run a service business off of a pricing model that doesn't make sense for the level of service that we're giving here. And so I tend to start with gross margin first when I'm building any kind of business model. And so if I think, okay, I think I can have a person who works for you and that person can handle, 50 people a month. If those 50 people a month are $1,000 and you pay them $5, all right, we have 90% gross margins, like we're good. And so I think I just want to make sure that anybody if you are going to start offering services because you want to make the offer better, fine, but just make sure that you're pricing it to make it make sense. Tiers are going to be sick.
I think the front ends will get lower and the back ends will get higher.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
like
1,000%.
And people will make more.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I'm thrilled.
What about the one-time deliverables where it's like once you deliver the result, they don't really need to stay with you anymore?
Great question.
Education has been passed on.
Really good question. So knowing what the value discrepancy is super important because there's a lot of things that are one-time consumable, extremely valuable, but the day after you learn how to do algebra, buying more algebra, very low value. The day before you know how to do algebra, extremely valuable, right? Or if you know that algebra is important, right? And so this is why, Skool enables this, right? So like people can join the community for the value of the community at maybe a low ticket price, but then you can deliver in a one-time transaction the thing that has high value with a one-time purchase. And so then it works. And so like that pricing model exists already. And so I think where people get in trouble is they try and blend the two, and that's where I don't think it works. So let's say you have something that's $2,000 worth of value for the right audience. What will often happen is that people will say, hey, I'm going to charge $200 a month, and what happens is people churn in 3 and they get $600. But that's because the value of the community might be $50 or $100 a month, and the value of the thing is $2,000. And so we want to just make sure that whatever thing we're charging for, there's still a gigantic discrepancy between what they get and what they pay. And just being really clear about that. The blend is where it gets really tough because they already, for the $300 a month, it's a steal, so they convert, and then they learn whatever they learn, and now $300 was a steal for the $2,000 thing, but is now overpriced for the $100 thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so that's where you have to, that's why I'm excited about the tiers and the stuff that, Skool's just rolled out this year with one-time transactions, lifetime, like all these different things allow you to appropriately price and match value to what you're charging.
I also noticed like if you're delivering a service in your community, like just for context, dog training, the more people who join, the worse the community experience gets. So like if you charge a low ticket to enter the community and then you have a one-time purchase of a high ticket price to get access to the information, you get a lot of people who join who maybe don't even purchase the information, so they're just offering a bunch of random information that's actually just leading everyone astray and it's ruining results, and you have to go in and like moderate everything. So that happened like Black Friday. That was bad. That was bad.
You could still be mispriced on the front end for the community. So it's like, low is relative, right? So like maybe low is not 50, maybe for this specific audience it's 200. And that kind of weeds a lot of the people who suck out. And then you can still have, the upsells and things like that inside.
I think maybe tiers is going to be perfect for you. It sounds like you've got a higher ticket service thing and then a lower ticket community, but it's murky right now.
What do you mean by low ticket community?
The thing that you were just referencing. You said you brought like Black Friday, you brought a bunch of people in on continuity, but then you have services that you offer on top.
I don't. It's just a one-time yearly payment, yearly
you want
membership.
Okay.
The reason I do yearly is exactly what you're talking about. LTV is just higher.
Yeah. So it was good at that price, and then it was bad at that price?
I dropped the price and
right.
pushed super volume to it, and that ruined
so
results.
the low ticket.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds complicated. We should talk about it, like during lunch. Because I love your community, by the way. It's awesome.
Thanks.
As soon as you see a dog trainer, I was like, oh, that's that community. Yeah.
Is it about the business of dog training or just dog training, like actually training your dog?
Just dog training,
love
dog
that.
training owners.
Great. Training owners. Nice. That's good.
In that post you made, you talked about how doing Q&As was like becoming less important, like in a long form, like hour and a half, and you were doing like posts where you would like Loom video a comment to every single person's. Can you talk to that? Because you said like those would even go semi-viral to even just watch like the 2-minute Loom video.
Yeah, basically I'm just de-emphasizing the calls in general. It's not that I have a thread that's just like, hey, put all your questions in and then I'll record a Loom. I have a component of my community called like the roast part, and this is a big part of value. And in the roast part, you can submit a request to be roasted by me. In it, I'll do like a Loom video and I'll basically just tell you how bad you are at all this stuff. You know, I try and be nice, of course, but it's pretty great.
A light roast.
A light dusting, yeah. Some people I absolutely rinse, by the way. Like, it's like brutal. I'm like, oh my God. The guy like deletes, his comment later. I'm like, oh, well, you asked for it.
So then everyone just thinks because he deleted that you're just pulling somebody out and just destroying them.
Did Nick just kick that guy out for sucking? Maybe, yeah. But a healthy amount of fear. It's the carrot and the stick. Yeah.
I think I know what because I watched your video and looked at what you said. I think we came to a similar conclusion with schoolers, right? It's that in order to kind of touch everyone in a way, it's better to do that through posts and comments, because someone asks a question, you reply to them or whatever, and you do that daily, so everyone's still getting served. And then you just do once a week kind of call. And I honestly think that's a better structure in a way, because a lot of people think in order to help everyone, they just need to do more calls, but it just becomes overwhelming, and still they can't reach everyone.
Yeah.
And then
inefficient service.
Yeah.
Is like what it is. And also the school calls, to be clear, like they're not like Q&A calls. They're
that's
like
the other thing.
Yeah, right.
So what informs that call is the experience of being in the comments all week with the members. And then we kind of, Kirby and I, like the day before the school news, we take 30 minutes with the Google Doc and we're like, what is the best things that happened? Put it in a doc and then share it more like a broadcast. I would not recommend this for a small community. I think there's a threshold when a community should start intimate and Q&A, like grid on Zoom, like you see everyone's face, right? But at a point that kind of breaks, and at a point Q&A becomes kind of like a wild card. You don't know who's going to ask what. And that's when I think you flip more to like this thing, which sounds like that's where you're at now, because your community's a lot bigger. Is that kind of what you've found for yourself doing? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I think you could just do more calls and whatever, but then you'd just be serving the same 10% of the audience over and over and over again.
Same dude.
I think it's always just one dude.
Same dude, same question.
And there's like a dog barking in the background, or like his mom's like, Steven.
You're bringing back PTSD, man.
It's bad. That's why I mute everybody on calls. I'm like, God Emperor.
Have you guys loved I'll say I watch all the school game news just because
I knew it. I told Kirby.
Yeah. No, I love them. I think they're really. I was curious. Like, I also like that they're not a defined period of time. If it's 18 minutes, it's 18 minutes. If it's 27, it just doesn't. It's not like it's a 30-minute call. It's just we will tell you about the cool shit and however long that takes.
I talked to Kirby about this. I was like, I bet you Hormozi watches them because it's the most efficient way to know what's going on.
Yeah, it's super dense.
Yeah.
I love it. I've watched all of them. Like, I think they're great.
Can I just say an understated part of, I think, interacting with people on a daily basis like that through text posts and stuff is you really do learn like the core problems that your customers are suffering from. I mean, like, where else are you going to get such a treasure trove of pain points that people are just dealing with on a daily basis? Anytime that you're doing like a later upsell or you're creating some other product, like you literally have all of the pain
Or your
points laid out in front of
content
you.
for the outside, right?
Yeah.
Like, because a lot of people sit down and they're like, I need some ideas.
Yeah.
They're in there, right? Like everyone's begging for all kinds of different things.
Yeah, it's a treasure trove. I have threads that are like, what do you struggle with? What do you want me to make content on? And then it's time to make content. And I'm like, okay, let's start here. And we'll just go down here. So not only are you making more money today because you get the positive reputational benefits of being a really active community owner, you get obviously reduced churn, you get more engagement, you get all like the benefits on that end. But then you also like get future money because now you're just much better at tackling the problem that the community is suffering from. So I am very bullish on just like responding to posts overwhelmingly. Like 80% of my time should just be on posts, and then like the other 20% maybe on calls. But yeah, mostly posts. Yeah. We got lots of mics here.
So I don't know if you already said it and I missed it, but you were talking a lot about tier subscriptions. Is there a date for that already, or?
Ooh. No. Soon.
That's cool. And then question for Nick. You were
Yeah.
talking about how the members of the community reply to the questions. Do you have I'm just curious to know, do you have a system to incentivize them to be active?
Not in Maker School. I've tried this with Make Money with Make, where I pay out, it's like $1,000 in total once a month, 500 to the person that's number one on the leaderboard, 350 to number two, I think, and then 150 to number three. I just didn't see much of a difference. But, you know, I love all the people in my initial community, so I just kept that going. It's fun, you know, it's like, hey, like Michal hit number one this month, and everybody's like, go Michal. So no, I haven't really. I think there is some intrinsic like hierarchy always in a community, and people want to be number one. They want to have the little fire emoji, right? Little things like that, which I'm very happy that you guys.
That thing's harder than it looks like to get.
Yeah.
I got it once and I lost it because I touched a poisonous plant and I got sick. I'm not even joking.
That's brutal. There's a lesson there. And it's don't touch poisonous plants.
I won't go into it.
Yeah, in a nutshell. Yeah, so I don't like incentivize. Do I think that it would be better if incentivized? I mean, maybe. I mean, like, the thing is there's just so little nuance with stuff like this. Like, I don't want to be seen as somebody that's buying engagement, and then I don't want to be seen.
Also size, like, you know how we talked about Q&As change at a community size?
Yeah.
If you're offering engagement rewards in a big community, people are going to go too crazy, right? So like when a community doesn't have much engagement, yeah, great tool, like to really put some, like an iPad up for grabs or whatever for like best contributor this month. But I'm guessing you don't have an engagement problem.
No.
Yeah, so you don't need to incentivize it. It might make things worse. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like tackling on complexity when it doesn't need to be tackled on.
We had a does anyone remember if you get to level 7 in Skool community, this was like last year, you get to visit Skool HQ. It was worked real good. And then some interesting people started showing up at Skool HQ. And I started working from home. And I was like, maybe I should look at what and they were getting there in 7 days. Whereas the first people that I met there took over a year to get there. So it was like getting abused and it was ruining the community. And so we took away that incentive. So I think that's a perfect example of it can be good early on, but I think there's some stage of community size where the dynamics change. You just can't have a super intimate community at scale, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I was just talking about this earlier. And I used to go to basically the equivalent of a community college. And in the community college, it was 20, 30 people class size. And you go in there, and by the end of the semester, you know literally everybody in this thing, right? And everybody's nice and you're joking with each other. And then my second year, I went to university. And now the lecture size is 400. And nobody knew anybody there. The dynamics change fundamentally, I think, as you grow. And I think this is a good example of it. Things just get scarier. It gets weirder to engage. Anyway, to make a long story short, yeah, I think that some sort of incentive could make sense. probably not for me right now, and it's not a problem that I feel like I need to solve.
Thank you.
How many more questions we got here?
I don't know. How are we going time-wise? Huh? 20 minutes?
Cool. Yeah, let's do it.
So this might be a very simple answer, and y'all touched on it a little bit, but I'm curious, you were talking about in special the part of likeness and like the 4 realms of influence. How do you feel like you find the balance between the likeness where people see themselves in you, but also finding the novelty that sets you apart from other competitors?
I'm not actually sure I understand the question. So I think you being you will be unique in and of itself. And I think it's one thing, not two.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, right.
You're separating them, like
Yeah.
your likeness is your differentiation.
Yeah, exactly. They're one and the same. And I think the thing is when you try to be what people want you to be is when you will look like everyone else, because everyone else tries to be what makes people like, which then makes them vanilla, which is why they don't actually stand out at all.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Solved.
I remember thinking like, oh, I need to be more charismatic at one point, because people were saying like, you need to be charismatic. I thought maybe my awkwardness is my charisma. Like, just lean into look at Elon, for example. That dude's stuttering around and it works. It's like perfect. So like, you don't need to pretend, I think. Like, yeah.
Yeah, so thank you again, guys, for doing this. So Nick, something that you said in your video was that you changed your promise from B2C to B2B, and that really helped you scale the price. So now let's say we have a B2C product, like for example, like a hobby community or a self-improvement community. So how do you guys recommend increasing the price of that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's a straight line path for every industry or vertical, but I think certainly most people could do better by listing all of the benefits associated with their service and just being clear on like what the benefits are. I mean, one of the comments, I don't know if the person is here, maybe or maybe not. I think it was a community for women that were 50 plus that wanted to get in the best shape of their lives or something.
Is this Lady Change?
It might have been.
The pink one? Is it pink?
Yes, it is bright pink everywhere. Yeah. And the About page was all talking about, I mean, there are these like cool little marketing slogans in it and stuff. And I thought it was written well, but I don't really think it like realistically enumerated all of the benefits that you get by being in shape at that age. Like, I don't think anywhere it talked about the fact that, I don't know, you'll be probably more well-liked, you'll make more friends, you'll, I don't know, sleep better at night, you'll reinvigorate your relationship. Do you know what I mean? Like, there are so many of these benefits that I think people are just like kind of scratching the surface on with their hobby community. And I think if you really drilled deep and you were like, hey, what are the 100 reasons why some hypothetical avatar might join this community? I think you can go like much more granular than you think. So the B2C to B2B problem, I think you can do this really reliably if you do some sort of education. Well, at least in my case, like, previously it was like AI, right? And I was like, I could just make an AI community. But, there were a lot of AI communities already at that point. And it was just like, well, everybody knows, the value of AI. It's like, oh, I get faster and better or whatever. But then I was like, if you explicitly make this a money problem, and then I'm like, hey, pay me $100 and I'll pay you $300. I mean, how easy to sell is that, right? So maybe, I don't know, in the case of that woman whose community I was talking about a moment ago, maybe it's like, hey, pay me $50 and I will give you list of giant benefits that you may subjectively value as way more than $50.
The benefit of B2C versus B2B is that there's way more of them. So that's the trade. So with B2B, the price goes up, the number goes down. I mean, just like in the US, it's 9% of people own a business. So you have not, 1/10 or 1/11 as many people that you can reach. And so functionally, I think where people see the quote immediate money thing is that they're very limited in their ability to advertise. And so then the only kind of natural thing is that they want to raise the price. And so they're like, well, I only have the infrastructure to sell 100 people. And if you had to cap it at 100 people, then you just want to make those 100 people the richest people you possibly can make them, if that was the constraint. Mm-hmm. But it might be kind of like we were alluding to earlier, you might just have a traffic issue, which is like, how do I just get way more people to find out about my thing? Yeah, go ahead.
It's probably, sometimes it's just easier to double your traffic instead of double your price,
Right.
Mm.
Yeah, So basically you're saying that, okay, state the value very clearly. You're stating that you have more volume with the B2C and then focus on the traffic.
That's the
If
trade.
That's the thing,
Like
yeah.
like the B2C groups are like typically way bigger, and so that's where you make up for it. The other piece is that with B2C, oftentimes your deliverables can be significantly lower, and so that's again, B2B. If you're making any money, I mean, almost everything that's B2B is in some way related to making the business make more money. You get into some of the issues that we were talking about earlier, where it's like, oh shoot, my delivery, like I have to, like you might start getting into supply constraints, where you're like, oh, I want to raise this price, and I want to have these people in, but you're like, oh shoot, I quickly can't take any more people in. Now that might be a problem that you're willing to solve, and that's fine. But just, there's shit on both sides of the fence.
Is your customers mostly consumers?
No, overwhelmingly businesses.
But small ones?
Yeah, small, and really, I'm solving a very particular problem, which is interesting. I'm turning consumers into business owners, so
That's
it's
what
like
I'm
very
getting
much
at.
beginner.
So like they might be consumers, but you're turning them into businesses. Like I wonder if they did their LLC before or after they bought, basically.
I actually recommend most people don't. That's one of the common questions
just
I get.
Sole trader or whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But no, that's actually a really good point. So
they're consumers.
I guess in a way they are consumers.
There you go.
And I turn the transformation from a B2C into a B2B one. It's not just like grow more educated. It's
Yeah, I
like
think that's
become
the
a business
magic of
owner.
it, is that you help them make money. It's
Yeah.
not just AI for AI's sake, which is still, there's plenty of good communities like that, but that's how you get the extra high price and the conversion rate. Because your conversion rate is pretty damn high. I had a look.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right, let's have some lunch. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks so much.